Hi, hello, welcome to Felixstowe Live. My name's Chris, and tonight we're trying another one of our experimental little shows where you can get involved. You can get involved as much as you like. If you are a truly brave and fearless person, you can actually put in a comment of where you would like to appear in the show, and you'll be welcome. We can actually include anyone in the show who's got an appropriate smartphone, a laptop, a PC, a tablet, whatever you've got that's appropriately smart, has a camera, has a microphone. You even don't have to have a camera. You can have just your microphone switched on if you just want to talk and not be seen. So what we're trying to do with this show is to actually get people to kind of sum up what they feel on this subject. So that's camper vans, beach huts, our seafront in general. We've got a lovely seafront. The seafront at Felixstowe has got to be one of our prime attractions. Personally, I just love it. I think the seafront is fantastic. We walk along it, we look at all the stuff that's going on as local people. I think, what more can you ask? The other day, if you watch Felixstowe Live regularly, you'll see I was down chatting to Stan Harris at Ocean Boulevard. That man has done a fantastic job for Felixstowe, as have other local amusement and entertainment providers, local restaurants, local caterers, you name it. A lot of local pubs as well, I'm glad to say, have done their best to attract visitors and provide them with good quality food, drink, entertainment, enjoyment, amusements. All that stuff is working so well, and yet we seem to have some really interesting little problems as well. One of the problems that came up the other day, or yesterday and today, was the Statesman published a piece that featured the mayor of Felixstowe, Mark Japson, who we know and think is a good bloke. And he was concerned about the camper vans on the seafront at Felixstowe over the weekend. Now, this shot was taken today, and the reality is that there was one camper van that you can see in the distance there. There were a couple of other small panel van type vans way down the road, and that's all. But what Mark was saying was that we had something over 30 camper vans parked in that area over the whole weekend, and some of them had actually arrived kind of on Thursday night and didn't depart until goodness knows when, until maybe Monday or Tuesday evening. Monday evening, I think, is the reality. So that's what the conversation started from. I posted a link to that piece, and a lot of people started talking about it. That's fair enough. That's interesting, isn't it? But the overwhelming kind of response we got from the Facebook posting on Felixstowe Live was support for the camper vans. Really interesting. Now, purely personally, I'm an ex-camper van owner and a user, and I used to make a TV program about caravanning, so I know all about wild camping, and I've done it myself. It's not spectacularly difficult. It's interesting, and you get to interesting places. But what we're looking at here on the seafront wasn't really wild camping. Wild camping is where you go out somewhere out of the way and have a quite a nice time. This was fair enough as a thing to do, but in reality, it's kind of an odd one. Mark found it odd. I've always found it odd because this used to happen as well, if you remember, at Bordsey. And what happened at Bordsey was that East Suffolk actually ended up, I think, putting in a load of preventive measures, if you like, from stopping camper vans and cars parking on the riverside, where we have done for many years. Let's go to someone who got there. Hannah Foster. I was one of those camper van owners and spent money in Felixstowe. Well, I'm glad you did, Hannah. The reality, I suppose, for many of us, is we wonder what benefit, I guess, camper vans have to our area, because the thing that Mark said was that he believes, and I think it's probably fairly true, that most people who turn up in a resort in a camper van go and buy what they want, put it in the camper van, drive to where they're going to stay, and eat it. So there you go. I don't know whether they benefit our area. I think probably quite a lot of people do what Hannah did and go out and spend money in the town. They go to a restaurant, maybe get some fish and chips, all of the stuff that you do at the seaside. But there is a question, or there are several questions about this that I'd like to get your answer to. It's up to you to tell me what you think. One of the things that hits me with this one is about, for instance, 30 or 35 camper vans staying on that road for literally the whole of that holiday. I've got a question about that. Is that actually reasonably fair? We've got a little tiny bit of seafront there, maybe, I don't know, 50 or 60 cars, 30 or 40 camper vans. And in reality, it's kind of a bit odd, isn't it? Because probably if those vans were there all weekend and firmly stuck in position, there's no law against it, there's no rules against it, but it probably means that several hundred people in cars and other camper vans couldn't park there for any period. It's an interesting one, isn't it? See what someone else says. So Brian, who we know quite well, says that, to be fair, it sounds like a lot of do-gooders that have nothing better to moan about. Campers spend money and no yellow lines, then moan over a storm in a teacup, send them over here to Harwich. We could do with the spending. Well, I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to say from a Harwich point of view. I'm always pleased to see Harwich get all the help it can because I'm a bit of a fan of Harwich. Joanne? Oh, well, that's rather nice. Yes, I did. Thank you very much indeed. So what else does Hannah say? Why not put pay meters in for overnight payment? Well, I think that's a pretty reasonable thing for you to suggest, to be honest with you, Hannah. And that was something I was going to mention just as a thought, but we'll come back to it. And let's see, we've got a family with young children strapped for cash will have a day at the beach, taking a picnic and not spend money. They don't have. What's the difference? That's true, isn't it? That's a jolly good point. I hope that Mark and other people will note that one, because that really is a really strong point, I think, Sarah. I'm impressed with that. Okay, let's just chug along a little bit further. Okay, let's just go back to the original article that featured Mark Jepson, the Mayor of Felixstowe. It was written by one of the East Anglian staff journalists. And I think it's worth noting that I think he treated it reasonably fairly, but I think he felt a little bit out of his depth. I don't know whether that's the phrase, but it's an interesting one. And I think really that the analysis that we can do is really limited. But I think getting that message from Sarah really hit me in the face a little bit. I really think that's very true. But I equally think that there's a bit of a kind of odd one on it. And I'm going to quote you another note that I received. Now, I cannot, for tech reasons, actually give you a picture of this one. I can't actually put the print up on the screen because it goes on a lot. But I'm going to read it out because it only takes a second or two. Let's just go to this one and see if I can sort this out. One of the issues we have, of course, is that, there we go. Can I do it? No, I can't. Tough. We'll sort this out. Okay, here we go. This is from a man called Mark Jones, who is a local politician and activist. And he's got something to say as well. And he wrote me a note. So I'm going to read that out to you. I can't work out a way of publishing it on the screen. Sorry I can't make the live broadcast, but will await with interest the recording. I've previously expressed my views on beach hut ownership and council management thereof. Terminate the rental agreements, remove them and replace with council-owned and managed beach huts suitable for, hang on, oh dear, okay, suitable for public rental. Let's see. As far as the campervans being allowed to park along the promenade is concerned, the road tax paying public have a right to park along that stretch of public highway. Any cessation of that right, that's just, sorry, I'm reading this out and having trouble. Any cessation of that right panders to the objection raised by a very small minority of residents and those who, I dare say, own beach huts alongside the prom. Right, okay. The further creation of exclusive, I see. The further creation of exclusive areas for those with access to wealth, such as those seen on beaches in France and Italy, should be resisted. Okay, well, I'll go along with that. And let's go down and take a look at someone else's comment. What have we got there? Okay, Tish Croydon, it really annoys me how much the council get in parking and now want to take away the only places that are left free. Well, I don't know about you, but I do agree with that one. I do think it's become an expensive place to park. And if you live here, it's kind of digging you in the pocket if you like to go to nice places. Let's see what we got here. Adam Saunders, they weren't hurting anyone or blocking pathways. I can't see the problem. I guess in a way, absolutely right. But the issue, I suppose, is that because a small group of campervans appear to have got in there literally first, they're kind of claiming ownership for the whole weekend. Is that not the point? Someone come back to me on that one, please, because that seems to be where the original article was going. The point that was made is that because a small group of people got in there really early, they then kind of took over for the whole weekend. If you had a situation where people came and went, then that would be kind of different, I think, because it would give loads of people a different crack or a crack at that seafront. But because a small group of people got in there and stayed there all the time, that seems to be, I think, what Mark Jepson is really talking about. I don't know what you think. Okay, what have we got here? Let's see. Zoe, I celebrated my birthday there at the weekend. Hey, well done. Friends from afar travelled, and the first time in Felixstowe, they loved it. They loved how everyone was so friendly and approachable. Great to have a sea view from the prom and can't wait to visit again. Fair enough. And see what else we've got. Nina Simpson says, regarding, well, that's interesting, isn't it? Regarding beach huts, Mr. Jones may like to ask East Suffolk Council why the beach hut village huts will be sold on the open market and not available for use to the general public. There are, I think, aren't there, Nina, going to be some of those huts or units or whatever they call them available for rent, I think, some. But the beach hut, yeah, I think you're right. The beach hut, village huts will be sold. I mean, let's be honest and say that Mark Jones is not a councillor. He is a candidate for the council, I think, for the Communist Party. But there you go. He's got a right to an opinion. But of course, so have you, Nina. I think he has certainly asked. He's asked on this show, on this channel, why huts aren't made available to the public as short-term rentals. And purely personally, I think they ought to be as well. There you go. Interesting, isn't it? Let's just go back to one of those pictures for a moment, because from my point of view, we did only a little bit of research on this, and we'll just check this up. Okay, let's just check that up and give me a moment to catch my breath and read a message as well, hopefully. Oh, right, okay. You always wonder whether you're going to get a rude message or what. One of the things that we were talking about, or was talked about in the article, was vans parked so they had two wheels on the curb and two wheels on the road. Perfectly understandable as far as it goes. And because if you're in a camper van, it's pretty essential for the van to work properly that you actually have it as level as you can get it. And doing that does make it level. I have to admit, it's a sensible thing to do. Let's go back to our, here we go. Would people prefer travellers or day trippers? Adam Saunders, yeah, I think you're right. we certainly wouldn't welcome travellers on that area. But the issue is, I suppose, Adam, just looking at what actually happened over the weekend, apparently, we didn't have day trippers either. What we had were people who came and stayed over a long period. And that means we didn't get day trippers. We got people who came and stayed for free, for nothing. There you go. Hannah, yes, there is. Yes, what I said. It's you have to park like that because it's pretty important to get your camper van flat if you're going to use it. It's an interesting one, isn't it? This is getting a lot of interest from my point of view, and I am getting odd few little messages, which is nice to get. Thank you very much. I hope you're finding this interesting. Give us a like or a love if you are. Don't forget that we do this just really to try and get some kind of feedback from the world because, as you may know, I don't know whether you do, as you may know, news coverage in our area really is in decline. There are a number of small commercial news providers who do their best, I think, and there are very few who kind of really try and get inside a story, which I can do because I don't get paid and it doesn't cost anything. Although running the site, as everybody knows, I think does cost a few bob. And if you are a kindly person who likes what Felixstowe Live does, don't forget you can join Felixstowe Live supporters group on Facebook. Costs you around, I think, £2.29 a month. And for that, I send you the occasional little message and things and try and make the odd video sometimes, but quite often don't get around to it. The other thing you can do is if you think what Felixstowe Lives does is worthwhile, you can make a small donation at Buy Me a Coffee. That starts at about £3. Do it as a one-off if you can. It helps to pay the bills because the bills otherwise come out of my pension. Okay. So there we go. So where are we going at this point? I think really what we've got is a situation. Yeah, let's go and speak to Zoe again. So Zoe says plenty of cars coming and going during the day, as we're camper vans that didn't say the night. Okay. What do we got here? More people staying in local areas for holidays. I think the problem is there isn't enough parking for everyone. I think that's perfectly reasonable and true. I have to say, I do think that is perfectly straightforward. I think one of the issues that we have to address in Felixstowe is really the parking situation, particularly in the summer. We have loads of underused parking in the winter, and then that gets used occasionally, not very much, in the summer. One of the things I was going to suggest to Mark Jepson, Mark is actually at a council do tonight, otherwise I think he'd have been here. We'll try and get him on perhaps tomorrow. One of the things that will come back to you. Sorry, I got distracted. One of the things that we were talking about earlier, or I was talking about with some other people earlier, was about something that happens in France. If you've been caravanning or camping in France, you will have heard of aires. It's called aire de repose in France, which virtually every small town, every village has an area in which motor caravans, motorhomes can park, quite often free, quite often for a small charge. And sometimes they have a range of facilities, etc. And I think something like that would be worthwhile in Felixstowe. The place I would like to see that done purely personally, this has nothing to do with councils or anything. The place I'd like to see that done is Manor Road or Manor Terrace car park, and possibly on Clifflands car park. Why couldn't we make those parking areas for motorhomes overnight and restrict motorhomes parking overnight in places like the Fludgers area? I don't know whether that would work. I don't know how it would work, but they can make it work in France. Why couldn't we make it work here in England? Good question. Let's go and have a look at another question. What harm are the camper vans doing? They're taxed and insured. Some people have smaller ones as their everyday vehicle, and I'm sure many of those spend in town. Okay, and Nina's come back to us. It's the few camper van owners that give the others a bad press. I've seen human waste being put down drains on residential roads from camper van owners and using one particular business drinks machine electricity. Oh, right. So Nina's actually seen a business drinks machine being plugged into for an electric supply to a camper van illegally, I say. Yeah, there you go. Hi, Nina. So thank you for that. Zoe, how great would this be if Felixstowe was the first UK town to offer this? It wouldn't be, actually, Zoe. There is a number of places that do have kind of air facilities. Years and years ago, when I was working on a TV show about caravanning, and we were in Oxford, and Oxford, one of their car parks that's also used as a park and ride scheme, had some motorhome spaces that were available, charged during the day and paid free overnight. And they were wonderful for motorhome owners because those motorhome owners could park there free overnight, stay for a few hours in the morning or in the afternoon on arrival, and catch the bus into the town centre, which everybody did because Oxford is chaos for traffic. So that would be a great thing for Felixstowe to do. I think it would be lovely. But my ideas about car parking on council car parks often get trashed by the council. I've always said that we should actually make the big car parks like Manor Terrace and the other one being that I've forgotten the name of it, the one that's actually off Langer Road behind the new houses, behind the Martello houses. That car park should be free during the winter, and I think Manor Terrace should be free during the winter, and then it would encourage people to come here. Let's see what else we've got. Parking at the ferry is now ridiculous. Used to love spending the day and using the ferry cafe, etc., but now very expensive. I think you're right, Neil. I think parking in Felixstowe historically was very reasonable up until the switch that the council made recently and really chucked it all out, really, didn't they? I think that's true, don't you? That's quite a scary one. Okay, so where are we going next? I think we're kind of through everything that everybody has wanted to say. Let me look at my watch because I'm running out of steam. It's my age. And I don't know whether you think this kind of thing has helped. Let's have a look at someone else here. So Barbara McGrail, hi Chris, I have a small caravan and I'm disgusted the way some owners park and behave in an unacceptable manner. I always use proper campsites. Well, I think the truth is when I was caravanning and motorhoming for a period, we mostly did. Once or twice we did a wild camp. And in reality, maybe it's just me, I felt a bit uncomfortable, but there you go. I don't know what the story is on this wild camp. I do feel purely personally and based on what I've heard said from other people, if we had a situation where motorhome users could park in an approved, agreed place, like in the air for maybe a £5 a night or a £10 a night, something like Manor Terrace car park, and were then banned overnight from the streets, like the road in front of the Fludgers Hotel. If that were done, would that work? I've got to ask that question because I really think it's a tough one. I know what we always say may happen, which is that people go and park like that, and then as soon as it's legal to go and park next to the beach, you go and park. I've got to say this, Claire Barlow. Honestly, Claire, if you have a motorhome, then £5 is not a lot of money. If you can afford 10, 15, 20,000 pounds for a motorhome, then you have to accept that costs come with it. If you own a motorhome, can't afford to pay £5 a night, I would say that sounds quite dodgy. If you're a single parent and you can't afford £5, I think that's fair and reasonable. I would understand that. But if you own a motorhome and you can't afford to pay £5 a night and you're paying £8 a gallon for petrol and stuff or for diesel, then I think we've got a question of what values are what. I'm not having to go at you on a personal basis, but it just seems to me that that's an odd point of view for what we're talking about. So let's see what we've got here. I think it could work well. Perhaps this is the thing that we're talking about, the thing for having some car parking or overnight parking for camper vans, either on clifflands or on clifflands and on Manor Terrace. I think that would be a great idea, because that would encourage people to come to Felixstowe. I think the thing that I'd say is that if you gave camper van owners free parking somewhere sensible, then they will go out and use our local facilities more. If you're staying somewhere where you know your van is reasonably secure, if you're going somewhere where you feel that, I'll come back to you, if you're going somewhere where you feel that you are safe and secure with your van, and you've got access to nice facilities, chances are, I think, a lot of those people will go and use those nice facilities. Go to the restaurant, go to the chippy, go out for the evening, come to the spa pavilion. I think that's a really good idea, but there you go. Let's go back to Hannah for a moment. Hannah. Yep, I agree. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more, but I agree exactly with what you're saying, Hannah. They're two different beasts. And a small camper van, a lot of people use a small camper van as their only vehicle. I go along with that, absolutely. But I still say that we need to make a decision on what happens on our seafront. From what you've said, I think if you use the beach street, sorry, let me get this right. If you use the street parking next to the beach to spend overnights, I'm not convinced. I think it's kind of taking up the space and kind of claiming some sort of, it's also almost sort of, I guess you'd say, squatters' rights is what I'd say. Let's see what we've got here. I don't know, to be honest with you, Anthony. Anthony, it's hasn't Manor car park toilet's got a waste disposal on the side of the building. Sure, it's used too. Yeah, I'm sure it is if it's there. I am sure it's there. Yeah, okay. So, Andrew William Smith, yeah, I think you are spot on correct, but I think we ought to do that. Let's go back to sorry. Okay, there should be a sign as you enter Felixstowe saying, "Welcome all, leave nothing behind and take nothing away apart from memories." How very true. That's nice. I like that a lot. Well done. Okay. Do something useful. Have you seen the state of all the rubbish all over the seafront by the Regal? Is that my job? Got to say to you, Mo. Get on topic. Okay, no, that's fair enough. It's an interesting viewpoint, and I have to say that we can't do everything from here. We do what we can. Okay, I'm going to say to you something now. I'm going to say we've been here for about half an hour. We haven't set the world straight. We haven't set the world straight, but I think we have had a discussion about it, raised some thoughts. I'm going to put a poll on Felixstowe Live next, and I'm going to ask you, and maybe pass it on to your friends, to talk about what we could do for this one. I'm going to suggest on there that we use one of the or two of the East Suffolk Run Council car parks as an overnight facility for camper vans. I know what's going to happen, obviously. The people who live within 100 miles of it are going to complain about it. I think Manor Terrace would be beautiful because you'd have walks with the dog along Langard, be excellent. You could also have one at Clifflands. If you have one at Clifflands, then you'd have all the posh people in the new houses on the golf club site complaining like madlings. There you go. What else we got? Good Lord, Barbara. Well, that's very nice and very kind of you. I'm very glad to hear it. That kind. Isn't that nice? We try to raise local topics when we can and actually give you a platform to discuss them. I hope you have found this evening interesting and possibly useful. We'll see where we go, but we don't know what will happen next. I know that Mark Jepson, the mayor of Felixstowe, let me say this about this guy. I've known him for around a year, and Mark Jepson has been one of our most prominent, if you like, mayors. and he has done a terrific job for Felixstowe. I hope his successor does at least half as good a job. I know that Mark is retired and she's not, but if we can have mayors of that quality who push Felixstowe forward all the time, then we'll do better in the future. So let me just say this. I'm going to try and get Mark Jepson to have a look at this clip. I'm going to try and get him on one of our shows tomorrow to have a chat about this. I'm in a bit of a difficult position tomorrow because originally I was going to have the day off, and I still am going to have part of the day off, trust me. And we'll see what happens, but we'll probably have a chat with Mark tomorrow. So what I'm going to say to you is thank you so much for watching this this show. I hope we've got some things out in the air a bit. I don't know. If we have, good. If all we've done is added to the confusion, that's all right, Hannah. I hope you're not sorry to say. I hope you have a lovely weekend. But I don't know how to say this, but I hope you have a lovely weekend there. I hope you give other people a chance of parking in the area as well. And I think it would be great if you and your friends with campervans didn't stay there overnight. But who knows? I mean, it's nothing to do with me. There's no law against it. Although I get the feeling from councils and councillors, if it does come to it, then I think a lot more campervans parking there, it will be an issue. It will be an issue that will get resolved one way or another. And I think, to be honest with you, I don't think the campervan owners and users would like it much. I think it's probable or possible that the feeling amongst councils and people like that at the moment is fairly anti. Claire, well, I like doing it, don't I? I must be mad. There you go. And who else have we got? There you go. But nobody parks over there because it's not the side that you want to be on, I think, Hannah. Let's see what we got here. Invite the mayor to a meeting with the VW crew on the front. Well, yeah. I don't think the mayor would have a problem with that, to be blunt with you. But that he will see this, I'm sure. And there you go. We'll see what happens on that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for spending half an hour with me. I've enjoyed it and found it really interesting. I have, and I hope. I don't know. I honestly don't know, Sarah. But my opinion at this moment is that if the council get behind doing a change on it in line with other councils, do you remember? Or are you aware that at Aldborough they've done a thing that prevents or that forbids campervans from using that raised bit of seawall near the Martello Tower? I think something like that could happen, and I think the reality is that if you and I and we all make a campaign up to do something else, then we can probably at least make a good fight of it. But the council, yeah, they make the rules, and it's up to you who you vote for. You have to talk to the councillor that represents you. If you live in Felixstowe and you don't do that, I have to say you're wasting your time. You need to get, yeah, exactly right. But there you go. We're going around in circles now, boys and girls, and I need a cup of tea. So I'm going to say thank you very much for watching this clip on Felixstowe Live. I hope you have found it interesting and potentially useful. I don't know, but we'll try and do more of these and raise topics that maybe need to be discussed and get discussions going. Okay, I'm Chris. This is Felixstowe Live. I'm now going to have a frantic hunt to find a specific little button. And when I find that specific little button, I will press it. Well, here it is. See you soon.